So, Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2022, I took earlier this week, I took that run with the Class A down to Texas, and then I took that cutaway chassis for quality. It's just a box truck without the box or whatever, and they put a utility bin on it. Took it back to Strader, Illinois, having done my research beforehand, thinking that this Amtrak station right here is not too far away from Dwight, and as long as I could find a ride out of Strader to Dwight, which is 25 miles away, that's where I'm at now, I could get on the Amtrak and go back to Goshen, go back to Elkhart for cheap for about $35, give or take, and then the ride here would have cost $50, but I tipped them, and so it ended up costing $60 because I gave them $10 extra tip because they kind of went out of their way. It wasn't a normal taxi thing. It was just kind of a former employee that worked for, I think it was U.S. Truck Body that I delivered at, and then he's retired, and so they throw work his way, so to speak, as drivers come through and need a ride. It helps us, it helps him. And so I tipped him because he wasn't expecting that today, because I wasn't expecting to not be able to get a Lyft or Uber or a local taxi or nothing, because the two taxis that used to be here, and there used to even be a bus station and an Amtrak station right there in Strader, Illinois, but they both closed down because there wasn't any business. Anyway, long story short, it cost me $60 to get that nice guy to come and get me, personal driver and all, and I tipped him for that. And then I get to the Amtrak, and I didn't buy the Amtrak ticket ahead of time because I know how life happens. As soon as you buy something ahead of time like that, then maybe I probably wouldn't have got a ride. There's a possibility, there's a chance out there that I would not have ever got a ride to Amtrak in time to get on this train tonight and go. Well, now I got here, and the train is canceled, of course, because of bad weather or whatever. So as a transporter, you're left with, here are my options. I have a sleeping bag and my work bag. This place, which I'll show you, is a brand new Amtrak station here in Dwight, Illinois, because they tore down the old one and added a new one. It's unattended directly, but they have cameras up there, and they have restrooms, and it's heated. Your classic homeless guy, me from back in the day, hitchhiking, would say this is almost like paradise, because you got bathroom available, you got power outlets, and of course it's heated in the wintertime. And so as long as I was able to stay here for free, it would be worth just camping out somewhere on the floor and calling it a night, because I've stayed at post office lobbies before, I've stayed in apartment laundry rooms, etc. And so this would not be a big deal. You hope that the train comes again tomorrow. Problem is, train doesn't come again tomorrow because it's the same weather problem or whatever, who knows. Then I'm stuck in the same situation just 24 hours later. So that is option A, that I could be here for free and try to do that. The other problem is, it says on the one door, one of these three doors you can leave out of, that it's closed from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., which is normal everywhere that says that. And that just depends on whether or not they send somebody here to lock the place up or not. And then it also depends on whether or not, if I bought a ticket and they let me stay here as a paid passenger overnight, sometimes, 50-50 chance of being able to talk them into doing that. Or I was thinking, there's also a Super 8 that's 2 miles up the road that way, but because of the weather, it's like 2 degrees outside or something, or feels like 2 degrees. It's pretty damn cold. It's frostbite temperature. But I was thinking, if nothing else, you could convince that Amtrak employee that comes here and locks this place up, or the city employee, whoever does it, to give you a ride up to Super 8 if I just waited till 10 o'clock when they come to close it. 50-50 chance that somebody else will come up and actually close this place up, or not. It depends on how often they have issues with somebody staying here, or drug use, or who knows what, around this Amtrak station. It's brand new. There's a possibility that they don't have nothing. That's why they don't have an attendant, or just cameras over it. So like I say, 50-50 chance of actually being able to stay here and do that. You throw the luck out there on whether you can do that or not. I'm not going to. I thought about it, but I'm not going to. The other option, like I say, would be Super 8. Walk 2 miles out that way, which again, in frostbite weather, packing my stuff, no cabs, no city buses, no nothing. And I'm not trying to be lazy or nothing. It's just, what happens if I go there and I spend $70 at that Super 8, give or take, overnight, come back here in the morning, have to walk both ways, give or take, unless I can find a ride somewhere, somehow. And then let's say the train cancels again, and again I'm in that same situation again. What do? You know, I spent 70 bucks to get through a night, and it was nice and all, but it didn't get me anywhere. So the last option that I've been considering for the last couple hours while I'm sitting here is there are a couple drivers around here, well, not here directly, but there's what they call Cynthia Taxi, which has like local drivers, and they're good to you out there in Goshen and Elkhart and South Bend and all that, but they may or may not have drivers up here at the time. And I tried calling them earlier. They didn't have a driver available, but otherwise I could have done it that way. And then there's other freelancers, I like to call them, that actually work for Lyft and Uber. A couple of them have given you a number because they're used to the transporters coming through Elkhart and Goshen a lot, and so they pass their info along and say, hey, if you give me the chance instead of Lyft or Uber, you just call or text me instead, I'll give you a cheaper rate than what you would have paid on Lyft or Uber to come get you. And really the only time that it makes a lot of sense to do it is in a situation like this where you are stuck someplace where Lyft or Uber doesn't go. Because honestly speaking, depending on when you click on that Lyft or that Uber app, it can be cheaper or more expensive depending on the time of the day and night. So it's always worth checking on Lyft or Uber first. However, at the same time, you're helping them out, they're helping you out. And Lyft was right around 200 bucks. I think Uber was like 230. And so one of these drivers told me this. She offered $150, which would be slightly cheaper than Uber and Lyft, but I went back with $200 because at the very least she should be getting paid as much as Uber and Lyft, and it's 173 miles each direction. And it says on the map it's 2 hours and 40 minutes each way. So you figure that's a 6-hour day, 7 if you take breaks or whatever going through there. In a 7-hour day, you figure a car remotely, decently, it's a 350-mile trip or something like that. So it'd be like gas tank worth for your typical car. And your typical car would take, not to throw politics in it, but back in Trump's day, would take only like 30 bucks to fill that up. Nowadays, it costs like 50 to possibly 80, depending on where you're at and the type of vehicle you're driving. Most pickups would take up to 80 bucks in gas to get here. And then you have to figure in the 6 or 7 hour trip she would have to take to do it. So I offered $200 to get me back there. And that's the thing is do I have to do that? No. I could go with my other options. I could try and weigh my options of coming back here tomorrow and seeing if I could get out of here on Amtrak, which is for somewhere between $33 and $37, which obviously is a lot cheaper. But you weigh time versus money, the time it takes me to wait. I also have another run that's supposed to go out to Oregon that I could start on, and I have other things that I'd like to do in Goshen and Elkhart, and instead I'm stuck here. If I want to wait what amounts to basically 24 hours because it's 1:30, 2 o'clock now, and the train comes through here at 6:30 at night, every night, well, except for tonight apparently. So I would end up literally having to wait here from 1 p.m. up to 6:30 night to 6:30 the following night to get on the train. And just, that's a lot of time that I would kill sitting here. No bus, no taxi. In this situation, it's how much do you need that 200 bucks? Because for 200 bucks I could get what amounts, well, I had to wait until she gets here obviously and then go with her back, but I could get what amounts to a 3-hour drive back to Goshen tonight to be able to get that stuff and go to the post office and do other stuff that I want to do this week, because at the end of the day, that's one more day that I'm not transporting something that I'm not making money. Yeah, it costs money to get there, but then I'm not making money doing it either. And then you have to look into what your total cost of transportation costs are. Before this, it would have been basically amounted to $100 in transportation costs on the bus to get from across Texas to get this run, and $100 to get back to Elkhart. Now instead it's going to end up costing me about $260 to get back. And in a way, sometimes the cost of doing business. There's going to be some trips like this, which you kind of half-ass regret doing because that just ain't half my profit. But there's going to be other trips where you can literally walk from the dealership right to the airport. You can see it out the window of the dealership. And that's why I stayed on with these two companies, because the majority of the time it's something like that. You go out west and you can just walk across the interstate or whatever to the airport, and you don't have these kind of transportation costs. So in the long run, I'll make money, but this set me back a little bit. But at the same time, it was voluntary. I could have waited another day here and then hope the train came through tomorrow. I mean, it's nice weather here too, so I don't know what caused the train to cancel today. I'm guessing weather down the line somewhere screwed something up, but it could be as simple as a mechanical breakdown on a freight train or something blocked the line and they can't get through. I don't know, but this section of it between here, I forget the towns now, but two little towns between, I think it's somewhere between Iowa and Chicago on this line, broke down somehow or got stuck some way. So it's just the cost of doing business. Do you want to wait or do you want to spend money? And after waiting here a couple hours, I'm like, into the deal, $260 to get back, when I usually sometimes have to fly back for $400. Yeah, I figured, yeah, it's not what I wanted. It's not as great as I started this trip thinking I'm going to make $100, only going to cost me $100 to get back, and I'll make like $600. Now it's going to cost me $260 to get back, and I'll make somewhere around $400, I guess, because I stayed last night in that hotel too. So my guess, profit margin wise, yeah, 300. I probably, maybe if I'm lucky, made $300 on profit on this trip after the expenses of getting there, because I also have the hotel tonight in Goshen to go to, but I still haven't decided if I'm going to do that or not, because I could go to Synergy and get the RV out at night and inspect it and everything, get started and go. But I'm thinking it's just worth spending another $100, close to it, for a hotel, because there's a nice hotel there across from Synergy. Probably just that way I'm well rested and I can start tomorrow. So my total profit will come down to $200 for this trip because of that. But it takes money to make money. It's just disappointing because I was trying to save up $1,000 extra in savings outside of all these trips and expenses and whatever. And I could still do that. That's the beauty of this transportation business. Is this week I'm going to Sandy, Oregon. It's a 2,000-mile run, and I will hopefully at the end of that one make another $500 profit after the fact, and actually make more than that because it's a Class B. So it'll only take maybe $500 in fuel and $400 to $500 worth to get back, transportation cost wise, and they paid me $2,000 essentially to do it. So depending on transportation costs, I can't quote it because it depends on the airlines and everything, and how much it costs you to get from Sandy, Oregon into Portland, Oregon, where you'd have to fly out of. But my guess would be somewhere between $500 and $1,000 I'll make on that trip in profit, pure profit. And so that'll kind of make up for this one dragging on the transportation cost part of it. But at the same time, it comes back to time versus money. Do you want to pay somebody for their time to come get you, which I'm happy with doing, or do you want to sit and wait? And yeah, something tells me not to just sit here and wait, because there's all sorts of issues. They say they could come around at 10 o'clock and say, no, they're closing up, no, they can't help me give a ride up there to the hotel. And then if they come around at 10 and did lock up and do all that, I should have just left at 3 o'clock this afternoon and went to the hotel instead of waiting. So, and when I just think about it, I could be in Goshen, and I am going to now, because I already said that's the plan, so she's coming to get me. And I could be in Goshen probably 7 o'clock tonight or something like that, I think, because it's 1 now, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah, about 7 or 8 o'clock tonight. I'll be in Goshen at the hotel, resting up for tomorrow. And I think that is probably overall worth it. You know, the 200 to her, the 60 bucks, you know, the 60 bucks that I spent to this other guy to get me to Amtrak. Had I known this, technically speaking, I could have just had her come get me, or had him, if he was willing to do it, at least get me to Chicago or to Elkhart or wherever, had I known this. But I spent, you know, tipped him, you know, did the 60 bucks worth, because I thought 60 for him and 30 for the train, 100 bucks in total. It's a pretty cheap way to get back. Then I get here and that happens. But at the same time, it's technically my fault for not checking it again this morning like I should have, and I didn't want to buy stuff ahead of time, and even then, train canceled, so it don't matter, but I don't want to buy stuff ahead of time. And then, because that's when you're not going to be able to find the ride to the train if you bought the train ticket ahead of time. So in the end, I get screwed over a little bit with the higher price tickets for airline tickets and train tickets and stuff like that, because I wait until the last second to get to do it. But at the same time, with airlines, you can kind of pay ahead as long as you make sure it's got that no change fee. So if something comes up, you can change it in the future and use that flight again in the future, the money that you put toward that flight in the future, and you can change flights to different cities and use that amount. It's kind of like credit. You know, you put three or 400 bucks out there, technically in credit, under a no change fee thingy agreement with their contract. That's only the higher end airlines that do that, like Delta, American, United. They will do that, but you can't do that with like a cheaper end flight like Frontier or Spirit. Those ones will have all sorts of change fees, and by the time you do it, they will get way more extra money out of it. But anyway, I'm just going over like what happened to me today as an example. When you come out here transporting, you have to be willing to roll with the punches, so to speak, because sometimes life comes along and says, oh hey, the Amtrak train is now canceled. So, not happy about it, but it is life, and it's my decision. I don't have to call for a driver to come get me and pay that extra money. I could just sit here and wait. Technically, if nobody ever came, I could be here free overnight and wait. But there's decent odds, but that being a newer train station and everything, that somebody's probably going to come along and lock it up. 50-50, you know, now I'll never know, because I decided I'm not going to wait and find out. Because in the end, I'm only 3 hours away from Goshen. I could be in Goshen like 8 o'clock tonight. So why wait? In my opinion, is it worth the 260 versus 100? Or is it worth your time? And that's what it comes down to. Am I going to waste time sitting here that it could be making money? Or am I just going to go? So, and then it depends on if you can get a driver or not. And I was lucky she was free. She just delivered somebody down in Goshen somewhere, 20 yards. When I called, and she had to drop her kid off, and then she's coming out here to get me, so, you know, and I'm okay with that idea, because altogether, at the end of the day, I'm helping her out too. You know, she just made, well, after gas, figure gas is 50 bucks, she just made 150 bucks, or will make 150 bucks, but for her, it's a 6.5, 7 hour drive. For me, it's only half that, obviously, because I'm only going 3 hours of it back, but that ends up being a 7 hour day, so she should get paid for that. And on average, I pay her the 200 bucks. That means she made 150 bucks for her 7 hour day, 7 hour day. That's pretty good money on her end of it, so I'm glad to be able to help her out better than she can do on Lyft or Uber. And then she was available, and then I called the other places and they weren't, so that, you know, it is what it is. I thought about calling back the guy I just tipped and did the 60 bucks with coming up here, but I don't think, I mean, they were an older couple, and I don't think they'd want to take me all the way out there to Goshen. I think they would do going to O'Hare, going to Chicago, and then I'd end up paying more to get out of there and get back. So overall, this is just my thoughts, you know, going through my head today on what to do here on foot. But the average person coming into this life, if you've not spent some time hitchhiking or some time living in a van or just some time as a truck driver on the road, you are gonna be shocked and surprised when stuff like this happens. Me, yeah, it was a little surprising, but then your brain just jumps right to, okay, how do I get myself out of this situation? What are my options? You know, and you think it over and you decide what you want to do. That's what I've got for this video. I'm gonna get it uploaded while I'm here. It ends up being about a 20-minute video, so see you on the upload range on that. I might wait for the hotel tonight to upload it. That way it's on free Wi-Fi. But anyway, that's all my ranting and thoughts. Hopefully I made some kind of sense as to, you know, so it doesn't shock you and surprise you if you're deciding to go into this occupation. Stuff like this can happen all the time. I've had buses cancel on me. I've had trains cancel on me. I've had buses break down, trains cancel, flights get delayed. So far I've not had a flight get canceled, but I have had a connecting flight not connect, going into Boise to Chicago to South Bend, and the South Bend one did not connect in time because Boise was 2 hours late. I have had that happen, and things do come up in life, you know. It's just human nature and the weather and everything else you gotta work around. Altogether though, I love this job. I wouldn't change it for nothing, because again, yet today, although it was a negative surprise, so to speak, because it'd be 24 hours waiting, it's another surprise that I didn't plan on today. I didn't plan on having to be here more than 6:30 tonight for the train. Get on the app, oh, it's canceled. Call them up and ask, oh, yep, it's canceled. Yeah, so now I'm left with, what do you do? Do you waste time or do you waste money? Like and subscribe, leave comments, check out the merchandise below in the video. Please try and share my videos. I'm getting up to 832 subscribers, I think, last time I looked. Pretty close to 1,000. Hopefully I'll get up in the views. I'm hoping that I'm giving out valuable information to someone who's looking to get into this, so that they're not coming out here totally winging it with no idea. Or it might make them less scared to come out here seeing me out here doing it. And overall, I love it. It's like, especially when you're driving RVs, it's like retirement every day. Like and subscribe, leave comments, and I'll catch you in the flip. Peace.